Our first speaker this morning is Rehana Khan Parker. Rehana is a social activist grounded in humanitarian values. She is the daughter of the late Gulzar Khan, who himself was a social activist and a member of the City Council. With his guidance, the value of philanthropy was embedded in her since her youth by feeding the poor and defending the voiceless. Rehana is a qualified legal practitioner, and she started her own law firm in 1993 and has gone on to amass over 30 years of legal experience. And with all of that, Rehana is now an acting judge. Ladies and gentlemen, Rehana Khan Parker.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and good morning to each and every one of you. I stand before you as a guest of Masjid al-Quds, and I'm grateful for this honor. I also stand here in honor of my parents, my teachers, my husband, and my children. I don't think you quite understand what it feels like standing here amongst so many icons that are being honored here today, each of them having carved paths for us to emulate and for young people to follow. Former Minister Pandor, a name on so many tongues, who continues to fly that flag so high for humanity, for South Africa, and who has certainly taken us right center stage in the heart of the most gross human rights violations. Former Minister Pandor, I always hang on to each and every word that you say, because you leave me spellbound. Our intersection started some years ago. I don't think you would remember. It goes back to a woman called Haji Fatima Khan and Maulana Ali Adam. And I'm talking now probably before the democracy, when we established the Muslim Women's Federation. And with substantial funding, we bought a site in Kaapkraal called the Tuan Yusuf Learning Center. I see Mr. Pandor nodding his head, which was to develop skills for women. But more importantly, it was to serve as a drug rehabilitation center in a very difficult Cape Flats. To another woman who certainly takes me to very, very different heights of a different kind, Fatima Jakut, I probably know 99% of your family. The Jakuts are well known for their appreciation of education. I followed you, although I don't know you personally, especially when you challenged the barriers in respect of the headscarf issue. I'm sure you remember that. And of course, to my acting judge president, Patricia Goliath, I'm taking you now back to well over 30 years, also before the advent of democracy, both coming from our practices in Lotus River, your home, as well as mine in Grassy Park. We served on the Black Lawyers Association together. She broke that glass ceiling, Leila, that you spoke about, or I think it was Aisha. And she reached the highest pinnacle to lead a division that is the High Court, being the Western Cape Division here in Cape Town. She did not hesitate when we approached her to celebrate the 100 years of women in the profession, which was held in Abdurrahman Khan. You would remember you were the photographer in court that day, where for the very first time, these celebrations of women were acknowledged in a courtroom. It was also the first court, incidentally, who had held that celebration in South Africa. So now you see why I'm so nervous. It's like coming to lunch, I say, with your principal or with the vice-chancellor from your university. It's not an easy task. However, standing here as the guest of Masjid al-Quds ushered in lots of memories for me. And the first of which is that when I was the president of Lions Club of Kirstenbosch, and you would know it's the biggest philanthropic organization in the world. And together with the Cape Hindu Seva Samaj, Masjid al-Quds, and Lions Club of Kirstenbosch, we held several outreach programs. That wasn't so long ago, probably 2019, 2020. And I remember that sandwich drives that we did, and where we managed to reach out to many communities, Paul, Vrygrond, as well as Khayelitsha. However, to bring it up quite close and personal, Leila, is that your dad was my MC at my wedding. He must have done such a good job because I'm still married. However, I cannot wake up on a Sunday morning without getting my morning dose from Sattar Parker, your dad, waking me up to the beautiful music and ghazals. This morning it was Mohammed Rafi, the well-known artist from from India, who's broken records in terms of what he has recorded. And today's message was on Women's Day. So yes, I am reminded each time of these iconic people through various mediums in such a beautiful way. And yes, AJP, I'd be able to come and run your 3rd division tomorrow because I'm nice and calm today. My dad, the activist and the educator, was my role model. And bringing it again to the intersection with Masjid al-Quds is when he passed on, there was this envelope and it said, "To my dearest daughter, Rehana." And when I opened up the envelope, there was his will. And in his will, there was a clause, and the clause said and read, "I bequeath to Masjid al-Quds X amount of money for their library." And today, I am again reminded of how important education is to impact and uplift and change lives. For my father, debating was his hobby, as you all will remember, and sharing the value of education was his mission. He sold insurance policies, endowment policies is what it was called, so that, and again I'm taking you to pre-democracy when NSFAS was not around and people couldn't afford to pay for their children's education to enter university. He reminded me of the value of education. And again, it brings me to, again, Lions Club of Kirstenbosch, and I had to interview learners for our bursary fund. And there were 2 learners that night that stood out, which I need to share their story with you. The one was a youngster, he was in grade 9, the old standard 11. Now you all know how old I am. And he was from Hanover Park. The other one was a lady, a young girl, also grade 11. from Langa. I think she was at Spine Road High. They had straight A's, but they did not have money to complete their matric. And there I sat listening to their story of the one from Spine Road High saying she wants a matric because she will be the first in her family. The other one said to me, I want a matric so desperately because I sleep in bed with my siblings at night in a tiny little room, and I can only study when they go to bed. Now, our children take such resources so for granted. These, as I said, were A learners despite their very limiting circumstances. And it's the teachings of my father that saw me devise training programs for lawyers who did not have the skill and experience and the skill set to achieve higher in certain disciplines. I continue to render pro bono legal services, and I continue to share that being pro bono legal services with other lawyers to give them the opportunity to see a world which they would normally not see in their practice. It is in the value of combined efforts that we can raise the hopes of others. As a lawyer, we advocate for such rights. We are defenders of people's rights when trodden on. That's our duty in the profession, ourselves and our community, and, of course, beyond. Parallel to that, we continue to work towards creating equal opportunities for all genders, as there are still many challenges which need to be fought for, equal pay being but just one of it, and of course, more importantly, safety for women. For you see, unless we have women who hold strong leadership positions, not only to hold them, but to have the voice at that table, and to pull others along as they rise, then and only then will we see change. Women leaders must foster dialogue. They must be drivers for accelerating gender parity. Women's Day is but only a reminder and an occasion to reflect on the progress made. It is certainly a day that will channel us to do more for 365 of the year. Where we see the disparity or gaps, we need to demand change, not forgetting that it is important that we need to celebrate the acts of courage and determination by women who carved out the paths for us which were spoken of in 1956. However, before I end, I need to share with you a wonderful exhibition I attended at the castle. It was on Women's Day. And it portrayed queens of Africa. Not Queen Rania or Queen Victoria. Incidentally, on Queen Victoria, named after the King Edward Hospital in KZN, Durban, has finally changed its name to the Victoria Mkenge Hospital. Those in the law profession will know who Victoria Mkenge is. She was gunned down in front of her children. when she was fighting the apartheid struggle. However, going back to this exhibition, it was telling the story as our stories. And they had Queen Nandi of Soweto, a beautiful portrait of Queen Nandi, and the Queen of the Molucca. Now you may ask, who are these women? That is because these iconic women were side-swept and overtaken by our colonial rulers. And therefore, for me, that art exhibition resonated with me so much, because there is still so much that we need to document on our own story and on our own history. And turning now to the plight of women and the cries of women who are at the mercy of the abusive partners. Some who are sadly bludgeoned to death. Some remain in that vicious cycle for financial reasons. Yes, for financial reasons. And most cases go unreported. Some of those who do make it to the police station withdraw their cases because they become the secondary victims. They are told, you are to blame. Therefore, whilst we honor the trailblazers who challenge the status quo and pave the way for future generations, we need to be intentional and deliberate to strive for a better future for the girl child, with equal education opportunities free of discrimination and abuse. And of course, and I'm so happy to see that we do have a sprinkling of men here, we do need the buy-in of our male counterparts to play their role to empower women, to believe in their strength, chase their dreams, and to teach them never to be limited by their gender. There's something incredibly powerful about words, isn't it? And even more so when they are used to uplift, motivate, and celebrate. To all the young women who might not be here, but who will hear this, never doubt that you are valuable and powerful and deserve every chance and opportunity in the world to pursue and achieve your dreams. So yes, we need a collective effort to beat these ills. You, me, and everyone. Thank you.